Yes, very busy. I usually go with the president wherever he goes. I cover him using social media, and I also have a regular social media program called DDS Podcast, Digong Diaries Special Podcast. It is also a radio program. So it is shown on Facebook and also on the radio. It is aired on the radio. And I interview government officials, cabinet secretaries, for them to explain the government projects. And I go here to my office to talk to people who need something from the government. If somebody needs a wheelchair, a hearing aid, we connect them with PCSO and other government agencies. The most remarkable for me would be, number one, the fight against illegal drugs, and number two, Build, 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 which is the flagship project of the president, infrastructure flagship project, because it is only during President Duterte that the Philippines has improved when it comes to the war on drugs, because it is only the president now, Duterte, who exposed how big of a problem drugs is in our country. Now, there are 1.3 million surrenderers, meaning we have a lot of drug users, and we have drug rehabilitation centers for them. And also, because of the drug problem in our country, the president signed the mental health bill into law, meaning those who are suffering from drug abuse can get medical help from the government for free. Correct, also. And corruption, yes. The president hates corruption. That's why he has signed an executive order on freedom of information, where the people can access information about government agencies, about the funds, projects, policies, and also personal information about the government official. But it hasn't been signed into a law yet. It has to pass the Congress. So, but the executive order on freedom of information, you can access all the agencies under the executive branch. You see, President Duterte has been mayor in Davao City for almost 3 decades. And Davao City is a perfect example of a no-corruption city. And what he is doing now is what he has been doing in Davao City. So we are getting there. But you know, local government units are a different thing. The president can only control the executive branch. So that is why we are looking forward to the federalism that he is trying to push in this country. Yes. In fact, he has been only president for 2 years, but it feels like he has been president for more than 2 years, because he has achieved a lot of things in this country. The criminality rate is lower, has drastically lowered. And among all of his campaign promises, he has fulfilled 4 of them. The only one missing is federalism, but it is on its way. So his promise against drugs, corruption, criminality, and improving the economy, he has fulfilled all those promises. But federalism, it's on its way. So what we are doing now is we are going to use the social media platform because 40 million Filipinos are on Facebook. So we will use Facebook to help disseminate information about federalism, to explain it in simple terms, in layman's term, in the language that the ordinary Filipino can understand. Because now, for the past decades, how many decades, the Philippines is under a unitary form of government. Meaning what applies with the national government, it applies to all the regions of the Philippines. But it's not always the same. Because there are many regions in the Philippines that are still poor. Because the riches is concentrated only in Manila, in only one government. But once federalism will be pushed, there will be equal distribution of the resources that this country has. That is happening right now. That is what is happening right now because it's all about popularity. But once federalism is pushed, it will be about the performance of the government official. The supporters of the president already know that he's like a lovingly father. And I have been with him many times, covering his events, seeing him behind the cameras. So what I can say is, he is a very down-to-earth person. He is such a gentleman. If you are inside a room with him, and if you talk to him, he will make you feel more important than himself. You will not feel that you are talking to the most powerful person in the Philippines because he is such a humble person. And that is why that's the reason the ordinary Filipinos love him, because they can feel his compassion towards the ordinary people. So he's a gentleman, down-to-earth person, very humble and compassionate. And he is real. No pretenses. What you see is what you get. In my experience, when we are with the president, with this entourage, close-in, personal security, presidential security group, I have never seen him get angry. He is soft-spoken. And I remember one time we were in a small room together with cabinet secretaries and his presidential security group. So there was lunch served. And the usual protocol would be you let the president eat first, correct? But what he did was he let the presidential security group eat first, his security, the people around him. He offered them, hey, let's eat. No more protocol, just eat with me. So that's how nice he is.
The speech.
Yes, on television, because he has to scare the criminals. You know, he has to talk the language of the criminals, because the Philippines has suffered so much in the past because there was no law and order. The criminals were freely roaming around the streets because we didn't have a president like Duterte back then who was very who portrays this strong image. That's why he always says, if you destroy the youth of my country, I will kill you. But he's not out there killing everyone. He's just scaring the criminals. In fact, a lot of parents, you know, families, they're happy because they say that their children have been drug users for so many years and they cannot change them. But since Duterte became president, their children got scared and they stopped doing drugs. So it's really a psychological thing, a psychological war. You don't do this or else something bad will happen to you. You see, the president is 73 years old, and some habits for a 73-year-old is very hard to change. But we are more concerned of his actions, that he is able to fulfill his promises. There are no perfect human beings, and his imperfection maybe would be his mouth. But when it comes to performance, he's doing an excellent job. Just like what his daughter is asking of him, Mayor Inday Sara Duterte, because the president is so busy and he doesn't get enough rest. So if I will have the chance to talk to him and suggest something, I would say, Mr. President, have some day off, take a rest. Because he's so busy, he wants to do a lot of things. Sometimes, you know what, 3 or 4, 5 engagements in a day, and he will have meetings until late midnight, and he will sign papers until wee hours of the morning. So he is such a workaholic president. Yes. So the president works as late as 6 a.m.
6 a.m.
Yeah. That's why sometimes he has migraines. And his day starts around 2 p.m. And it will go until late midnight. So he would go from provinces to provinces. He seldom stays in Malacanang because he's always out of town visiting different provinces.